Okay, so it won't be like the ones you've been taking where you have more and more problems. There's only one. It's a hyperbola. So here we go. Let's find everything we need to find for our hyperbola. Okay, who can tell, we're gonna do 2 practice problems. Who can tell me where the center is?
2, -1.
The center is at 2, -1. I would suggest those of you that are messing around, just get out a sheet of paper, write the problem down so you're not missing out on the instruction. Okay, now what? What do I do now?
You have to get your mirror.
I need to make my box.
Yeah.
So what will I do?
And do something
That way
for.
for.
So right and left 4. Because under the X is a 16, so I'm gonna go right and left 4. And then I'm going to go up and down 3. And I'm gonna draw a box through those points. And then I will draw in the diagonals of the box. And now I'm ready to draw my actual hyperbola. So which way is it going to open? Sideways or up and down? Which way is it gonna open? Sideways. What is the rule, you guys? It's such a simple rule.
If X comes first.
Exactly. Whatever letter comes first, that is the way we are opening. Now, these big black points I just put in there, those guys are called the vertices. So when we fill in our answer blank, and there's a blank that says vertices, you are gonna fill in these 2 points, which are what? Now look where they are. I'm not changing the y is staying the same, but I'm going back and forth how much? 4. So if I start at 2 and count 4 ahead, I'll be at 6. And if I start at 2 and count 4 back, I'll be at -2. You will have a grid, just like there is on the practice quiz here. You'll have a grid to count. Now, because these are the vertices, this thing right here is called the transverse axis. How long is it? How long is the transverse? 8. And then this is the conjugate, and it is 6. All right, some of us are missing that on our, well, you're missing it for the ellipse, major and minor. Remember, it's the length of the whole thing. The length of the whole thing. So 8 for the transverse, 6 for the conjugate. Now my foci, they're in here somewhere, inside the parabola. They are points. Again, on our quizzes, some of you are just putting a number. No, the focus is a point. The foci are points. Tell me what you know about those red points. You know the y is going to be -1. Kids, aren't we going left and right here? That's changing x. Well, I need to know how much am I changing x by? Center to focus in a hyperbola.
Isn't it 16 minus? Oh, 16.
16 plus 9, which happens to be 25, so the distance is 5. It's usually a radical, it's not this time. So I'm gonna start at the center, which is where x is 2, and I'm gonna back up 5. So you're counting on your graph paper, you're just using your head. 2 minus 5 would be -3. And then 2 plus 5 would be 7. And there are your foci.
Which type of problem is it when you have to subtract 16 and Cause this time you added it, so it's a
Ellipse.
less.
Now, I need my asymptotes. What's the point I'm gonna use in this problem?
2 negative.
2, -1. I always use my center. And then what's my slope? Well, come back to your box. How did you build the box? You counted up 3 and over 4. So your slope, rise over run, is plus or minus 3/4. So our equation, point slope, y plus 1 equals 3/4 x minus 2, or y plus 1 equals negative 3/4 x minus 2. So I'm gonna have two separate equations, one with the positive slope, one with the negative slope. So, using my calculator if need be, I'm gonna multiply, distribute, and then subtract the 1, so y equals 3/4 x minus 5/2 for one asymptote. And again, we're not taking up pre-calculus time to deal with the fractions. If you can't do it, use your calculator. And then y plus 1, negative 3/4 x plus 3/2. So that one's gonna be negative 3/4 x plus 1/2. And there are the equations of my asymptotes. So we filled in all those blanks. All right, on the next page, it says Precal CP Quiz 8183. Problem number 3 is a hyperbola. So it's the very back side of your practice packet. We're gonna do problem number 3 as another practice hyperbola problem. All right, so here we go. Okay. All right, where's our center?
-1,
-1, -4. Very, very good.
Thank you, Dave.
Everybody's paying attention this morning. Super. -1, -4. All right, now what? Up and down 4. Your graph paper there. And sideways. And make your box. And draw in your diagonals. Bless you. Now, we need to figure out where my vertices are. So you gotta know which way it opens. So which way does this one open? Up and down. So this is gonna be a vertex right here on the edge of the box, the point that you use to make the box. This is what our hyperbola is gonna look like. Why does it look like that? Because y comes first in the equation. So what are my vertices? I need to label these 2 points. So what are they? This would be -1, 0, perfect. And this would be -8, -1, -8. Okay. Alrighty. All right. Now what? Oh, So if these are my vertices, then this is my transverse axis. How long is it?
8.
8. Guys, you went up and down 4. 8. How long is my conjugate axis? 6. Okay. Now my foci. They are going to be in here somewhere. Right? So what do I know about them? Notice I'm going to be going up and down, right? So X is going to stay the same. They are points. You're going to have an ordered pair. They're points. And X will be -1. Now, Y will be whatever I get when I start at -4 at my center and go up and out. Now, what is the amount that I'm going up in this problem? It's just, the numbers are the same as the other practice problem. So it's 5. So I'm gonna start right here at 4. I'm gonna add 5. Actually, that's -4, I'm sorry. That's -4. And I'm gonna add 5, so that puts me at 1. And -4 minus 5 puts me at -9. If that's a radical, like root 26, then it's -4 plus root 26, -4 minus root 26. Because I can't add those two. All right, I have some jokes. What's my point?
-4.
-1.
-1, -4. Always the center. And then what's my slope? 4/3. Up 4 over 3. Rise over right. So, y plus 4 equals 4/3. X plus 1, there's one of my equations. And y plus 4 equals -4/3. X plus 1. So here are my two equations. So I'll distribute and move the 4. Let's see what that is. -8/3. -4/3 x minus 16/3. Okay, make sure, again, I'm not going to take up our class time to mess with the fractions. Use your calculator. Make sure that you're able to get your equation, y by itself, slope intercept form. All right, so what happens Monday?
It's just one of these.
One of these. We just did 2, you're going to do 1, just like this. Okay? All right, get your notes out, and let's finish those up. We only have 4 more problems to get in the notes, and then we'll be finished with that. And then we will start in on our practice test. I have posted your test date in Schoology. I think for this class it's next Wednesday, but double check that. I could be remembering wrong. Okay. So here we go. We are going to write the equation of the hyperbola. I am on my notes, 8.33c. And I know that my foci are at -4, 2. And 2, 2. Now, these are my foci, so don't get confused. Those are not vertices, those are foci. And the transverse axis has has endpoints at negative 3, 2, and 1, 2. Now, guys, if that is the transverse axis, then aren't these the vertices? So this hyperbola looks like this. The transverse axis is the vertices. So they gave me the vertices. They gave me the foci. It's got to open that direction. Would you agree with me? Which means when I write my equation, what letter is going to come first?
X.
X. Can I find the center? Yes, because won't the center be right in the middle of the whole shebang? So what are the coordinates of that point right in the middle of everything?
Negative 1.
Negative 1, 2. So I have X plus 1, Y minus 2. Now, imagine there's a box in there. How far over did I go? From my center to this vertex right here, how far over did I go?
2.
2. If I went left and right 2, then under X must be a 4. Now, they gave me no information about how far up and down to go, but I do know that the distance from my center to my focus, what is that distance? I know the center is here, the focus is here. How far is that? 3. So center to focus is 3. And I find it by taking the square root of 4 plus n. So if I square, it looks like n has to be 5. D is exactly the same situation. So let's see if this makes sense to you. So negative 3, negative 11. And that is a focus. Negative 3, 0. That is a focus. The transverse axis has endpoints at negative 3, negative 9. And negative 3, negative 2. Now, if these are the endpoints of the transverse axis, aren't they the vertices? So this guy's going to open like this. All right, what does that tell me about my equation? So it's going to be my y thing first. Furthermore, can I figure out my center? Yeah, you can. I'm waiting. I'm not going to tell you. You need to be able to figure this out. It's so easy. You have a graph paper, count.
5.5.
Okay, it's got to be an ordered pair.
Oh, negative 3.5.
Negative 3, negative 5.5.
Yes.
What is right in the middle of negative 2 and negative 9? Average. Negative 2 plus negative 9 is negative 11, divided by 2 is negative 5.5. So that means that I have y plus 5.5 x plus 3. This is a little harder. You won't have something like this on your test. All right, what's gonna go under the y? Well, how far up and down am I going? How far, when I
3.5.
start here, I'm going up 3.5. So the number that goes under here is going to be 3.5 squared, which is what? 12.25? Remember, if you went up 3, would you put a 9 under there? So if I'm going up 3.5, it's going to be 3.5 squared, whatever that is. No clue what that is. But I know that the distance from the center to the focus is how far? What is that distance, center to focus?
5.5.
That's 5.5. So I know that if I add my denominators and take the square root, I should get 5.5. So 12.25 plus n equals whatever 5.5 squared is. 30.25. So what is n? Okay, solve the equation from 6th grade.
17.
Type it in your calculator.
18.
18?
Let's go.
So that is the equation of that one. All right, I'm gonna stay away from having decimals in your denominators. It didn't change a thing about what we did, we're using a calculator anyway. But I know that freaks some of you out. All right, 2 more, here we go. This time, I have endpoints of my transverse axis at -2, -1, and 8, -1. Okay, now stop right there, guys. If that's my transverse axis, then aren't those the vertices? Right? Which means what about my equation? Remember, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, is writing an equation. What does that tell me about my equation? X comes first. Can I find my center? Yep, let's find it. What's right in the middle of -2 and 8?
-3. Wait.
It's right in the middle. Look, count on your paper, count. What is it?
3, -1.
3, -1. So x minus 3, y plus 1. Now, also, when I built this hyperbola, how far back and forth did I count to get my vertices?
5.
Which means under x is a 25? Now this problem tells me that the conjugate endpoints are at 3, 3, and 3, -5.
Oh, so we do.
So wait a second, they're telling me how to build the box, right? So if this is 3, 3, how far up and down am I going?
We're going up 3 quick. Oh, 4.
We're going up 4, which means under y is a
16.
16. And I don't have to do any kind of figuring because they happen to give me the points that I needed. All right, one more. What do we have? We know our center. We know the conjugate axis is 10, the transverse axis is 6, and it opens vertically. This is my center. So isn't it gonna open like this? Isn't it gonna look like this? Guys, tells me vertically.
Yep.
So I've got something squared minus something squared equals 1, that's my equation. And since it's vertical, I know that, what goes here?
Y.
And it'll be y minus 3 x plus 2, because I know my center already. Now luckily they tell me that the transverse axis, that's this, is 6. Well, what does that mean? If the transverse axis is 6, that means I'm counting up and down 3, which means under y must be a 9. And they tell me the conjugate axis is 10, which means I must be counting back and forth 5, which means under x is a 25. And there's your equation. Okay, notes finished. Let's take a look at our practice test.
Since the foci aren't needed for the equation, on a problem like that, where they give us everything we need to find out the foci.
Oh, no, your job is to write the equation. Write the equation. Don't find it. Write the equation. All right. Now, I want to make a quick comment about these practice tests. The last one is actually exactly like your test. The other ones have extra practice in them. So, when I look at practice test 1, where it says write the equation of the, and then circle, circle, ellipse, ellipse, hyperbola, hyperbola, parabola, parabola. On the real test, there's only one of each. This is just extra practice, okay? So you're gonna have to write the equation of one circle, one ellipse, one hyperbola, one parabola. All right, we got some extra practice going here. Let's see what we've got. We have a circle, we have a center, and we have a radius. I think you should be able to write the equation of your circle. If you know the center and the radius, you're done. What is that? X. Oh my gosh. Guys, if the center is this point, what goes in the parentheses? X plus 4, y minus 2 equals 36 r squared. That's how you write the equation of a circle. That's what a circle equation looks like. Now, the second one's going to require a little bit more work because we have the endpoints of a diameter. So here's the diameter, and the endpoints are here. So we want to do exactly what we just did, but we need to figure out our center and our radius. So, how can we figure out the center? No, the center.
X minus.
No. The center is the midpoint, and the midpoint is the average.
Yeah.
And when I average, I add them up and divide by 2. So 2 plus 4 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0, divided by 2 is 0. So my center is 3, 0. So in terms of my equation, I have x minus 3 squared plus y squared, and now I have to figure out what it all equals. Well, that number is gonna be the radius squared, just like this was 36. So I need to find my radius. How do I find my radius? Distance formula. So the radius is gonna be the square root of 4 minus 3 and 6 minus 0 squared. So 4 minus 3 is 136. Square root of 37 is my radius. So what goes right here? Not the square root of 37, just plain old 37, because that is r squared. R squared. All right. Now I'm gonna write the equation in the ellipse. So this equation's gonna look different. Its center is at 4, -1. And it has a major axis of length 16, a minor axis of length 4, and it's stretched vertically. So it looks like this. Now, if I know the center, then I can start my equation. What's going to go in the parentheses? -4 and +1. Now they told me that my major axis, and that would be this one, the major axis is 16. So what does that mean? I must be starting at the center and counting up.
4.
The length of it is 16.
8.
So I'm counting up 8.
Yeah.
Which means under y, because that's
64.
up, would have to be 64. The minor axis, that's this one, has a length of 4, so I'm counting back and forth 2, so under x is 4. There's our equation. Nothing tricky or hard at all. All right.
So I understand, like, obviously how it's like -4 and +1, but like when you're, how do you know when it's like plus or minus? Like the whole thing, you know what I'm saying?
Nope.
In the middle.
Like in the middle, yeah.
Oh, there's an ellipse or hyperbola.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So 1, -4.
Okay.
Now that's the major axis, and then -2, 3, and 4, 3 is the minor axis. All right, so here's my ellipse, and I'm gonna write that equation. Well, what do I really need to know?
Well, your center.
I need to know my center, yeah. And my center is gonna be where these guys cross, isn't it, right there in the middle of everything? So can you figure out what the coordinates of that point are? You need that point. The center is at
1, 2.
1, what?
3.
3, yep, 1, 3. So x minus 1, y minus 3. Now, how far sideways did we go? We went from this point to this point, so that's 3, which means under x is a 9. How far up did we go?
7.
So under y is a
49.
9. So easy. Pay attention to the given, so very easy. All right, now we're gonna do a hyperbola. Okay? So what do we know about the hyperbola? It has a center at -1,6. And it opens vertically. Now this is the center. So it opens like this. Okay, what does that tell us? Since it opens that way, what does it tell us?
Y comes first.
Y first. And since we know the center, we can do y minus 6, x plus 1. Now, the transverse, which would be this one, this is the transverse, is 16. So what does that mean? If this thing is 16 long, that means I'm going up and down 8. Up and down 8, which means under y is a 64. And then my conjugate axis is 12, which means I'm going sideways 6, which means under x is a 36. All right, one more hyperbola. This time we know -1, -1, and 3, -1. All right, now, what do we mean when we say endpoints of transverse axis? What does that mean? If they're the endpoints of the transverse axis, the endpoints of the transverse axis are the vertices. So those are the vertices. Which means the center is where?
One,
-1. Now it opens sideways. So which letter is gonna come first in my equation? X. And the center is gonna be x minus 1, y plus 1. And how far is it from the center to the vertex? I went forward and backward, how many? How many?
2.
2. So if I went forward 2, then under x must be a 4. And then what else did they tell me? The conjugate is at 1, 2, and 1, -4. So here's my conjugate axis. How many am I counting up and down? How many up? 3. So if I'm going up and down 3, then under y must be a 9. All right, now we've got our parabola. Now, equations of parabolas are different. Equations of parabolas are something squared equals a number times something not squared. Right? And if you get confused, you can just look at the other problems on the test. Because number 3, that's a parabola. That's what parabolas have to look like. So if you know that's what you're shooting for. All right, what do we know about this parabola? It has a vertex at 4, 5. That's its vertex. And it has a focus at 4, 7. Now, that has to tell you something. What does that tell you about your parabola? It's going to open up because it opens around its focus, right? Just like a hyperbola does. It opens around its focus. Now, if it opens up, think of your rules. Which letter is squared?
Y.
It's just a parabola.
I didn't say it.
X is squared. Go back and look at that little chart I made you. X is squared. X squared is up and down.
Oh, because.
Think of your BFF, folks. This is one of your note cards. Didn't that look like this? X squared is up and down. The vertex is 4, 5. And the only thing I don't know is this number right here, and this number is always 4p. This is p.
2.
P is 2. So if p is 2,
1/2.
then 4p is
1/2.
8. If 1p is 2, then 4 p's are 8, right?
Yeah, no, I got you.
Okay,
I was overthinking. My bad.
all right, one more parabola. This time, we don't know the vertex. We know the focus is 2, -6. That is the focus. And we know the directrix is y equals -2. Alright, so here's my directrix. Here's my focus. Which way does this thing have to open? It's got to open down. Because it opens down, x is squared, right? And that number will be negative, because down is a negative. Can we figure out the vertex? That would be a great thing to know. So we can fill in the parentheses. Can we figure that out? Yeah, because it's halfway in between here and here.
-2.
So what are the coordinates at that point?
-2, -4.
Well, it's positive 2.
Or
-4? Right in the middle of these 2 points right here. So the x is 2 and the y is -4. What is p? This is p. What is p?
Negative.
2? -2 or 2? Which means this number, if that's p, 4p is going to be 8, -8. So that is double of what's on the test. The test is one of each of those. So we just get double practice. Okay. All right, now these are like our quiz problems. Here we go. X squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 4y minus 6 equals 0. Find the center and the radius. Okay, we've done a whole bunch of these. You know what to do. I'm 100% confident.
We know.
You know what to do. You're going to group your x's, group your y's, move the 6 so it's going to become positive, and now you're going to complete the square. Right? So here we go. What goes here? 16. Half of 8 is 4, squared is 16. Good. What goes here? 4. Half of 4 is 2, squared is 4. So what are my parentheses here? This one's gonna be x plus 4 squared, and this one's gonna be y minus 2 squared, and it's all gonna add up to 26. So your center, which is the answer to the question, your center is at
-4, 2.
-4, 2, and your radius is the square root of 26. Okay. Now we have a parabola. So again, you're gonna have a problem on the quiz or test just like this. So if you can't remember what the equation of a parabola looks like back there on the other page where we're writing it, just look at that. That's what they look like. Okay. What do I know about this guy? Where is his vertex? -6, 1. Perfect. Here comes $1 million question. Which way does it open? Right. Why does it open to the right? Because y is squared and that 24 is positive. Okay? Now, somewhere in here is the focus, and somewhere out here is the directrix. This distance right here is p. And in our equation, 4p is 24. So p is 6. So I'm gonna start right here, and I'm gonna go forward 6. So I'm actually gonna be right here. I go forward 6. So what is the coordinate of my focus?
0, 1.
0, 1.
Yeah.
And then if I went forward 6, I'm gonna go backward 6.
-12.
So this point would be -12, 1, but remember, it's a line, so it's x equals -12.
And
That's the directrix. And our focal width is 24. All right, now we have our ellipse. So our center is where? 3, -1. Where are our vertices? Well, what does this 36 tell me? What's that 36 tell me?
Tells you that you moved right
1,
to the
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those 2 points, since I'm going 6, this would be -3, -1, and this would be 9, -1. And then what does that tell me? Up and down 1. So I would be at 3, -2, and 3, 0. How long is my major axis?
12.
12. How long is my minor axis?
2.
2. My foci are points. Look at these 2 points. The points. They have an X and a Y. What can you tell me about those points? I'm going sideways. So
The -1 stays.
Y is -1 for the 2 points. Center to focus. In an ellipse, I subtract the denominators. So it's root 35. Which means I'm gonna start right here at my center, which is where x is 3. And I'm gonna add root 35 and subtract root 35. And those would be the coordinates of my foci. And now we have our quiz problem, our hyperbola. So this is what you're gonna have a quiz over. So let's see how much of this we can get done. Where's my center? 1, 2. Perfect. Make the box. So sideways 2, up and down 4. There's my box. Which way does it open? Sideways? How do I know it opens sideways? It's a hyperbola, and x comes first. So these points right here are the vertices. Okay, remember how you got them. You started at the center and counted back and forth 2. So this one would be 3, 2, and this one would be negative 1, 2. Those are my vertices. This right here is your transverse axis. How long is it? It isn't 2. I counted back and forth 2.
It's 4.
So the length is 4. The conjugate axis, I counted up and down 4. So the length is 8. Your foci are back here. They're points. Look where they are. They're going this way. So what do I know about my points? Y is 2. Now x is going to start at the center, which is 1, and it's going to go forward and backward. Well, how far forward and backward is it going to go? Square root of 20. How did I get 20? Added my denominators. So I'm going to start at 1 and add 2 root 5 and 1 minus 2 root 5. We're not going to have time to write the asymptotes, but what's the point I'm going to use to write the asymptotes? 1/2. What's the slope I'm going to use? Up 4 over 2. So 2 will be the slope. All right, I'll see you on Monday for our quiz, and we will continue reviewing. Who didn't show up besides you? Anybody else show up?
Oh, he's up.
Yeah.
Is Mix here? Or is he
It's on entry. See ya. Bye.